We begin today's wrestling news and rumors video with a huge bit of news regarding the monster among men and former Universal Champion Braun Strowman. Now, as many of you are likely aware, there has been so much speculation regarding Braun Strowman's next move in wrestling following his release from WWE back in June of 2021, with some sources speculating that Braun was likely headed to AEW All Elite Wrestling once his non-compete clause ran up with WWE, with others even reporting that Braun could have been done with wrestling in general and either headed to bodybuilding or a rather bizarre career in bare-knuckle boxing. However, with the new reports and rumors going around, it looks as though neither of those scenarios are going to be true, and Braun Strowman is in fact staying in wrestling, but Strowman is not apparently going to be joining AEW like it was originally speculated. If he hadn't known, it was revealed earlier today by the Wrestling Observer that Braun Strowman, real name Adam Scherr, has been in talks with Impact Wrestling recently over a contract. And by all means, this news is not that surprising, considering a lot of fans have voiced their opinions over the past couple of months that they felt like Braun Strowman would be a better fit in Impact Wrestling compared to AEW, and that Braun would stand out more in Impact. While it was stated that Braun and Impact Wrestling are simply in talks right now, and no pen has been put to the paper as of yet, according to one of our sources, Braun Strowman has basically been confirmed to be signing and joining Impact Wrestling, and that is going to be his next move at this point of his career, with one report speculating that while nothing has been announced, the contract has already been signed, and Braun Strowman could very well be making his Impact Wrestling debut at the Bound For Glory PPV on October 23, 2021. Now, by all means, this is likely the best career option for Braun Strowman right now, because while AEW could have also been a worthwhile option for Strowman to consider, Impact Wrestling just feels like it's more in need of a superstar like Braun Strowman compared to AEW, and they might book him better. Impact Wrestling's ratings recently have definitely not been that solid, and hopefully Braun will be able to help get the company back on track, because without question, regardless of how he was booked in WWE towards the end of his run, Braun is still very much a big star in the grand scheme of things, and Strowman should be able to bring some fans to tune into Impact Wrestling once he makes his official debut in the very near future. And let us know your thoughts on Braun Strowman likely headed to Impact Wrestling, and do you feel that this is a better option for Braun compared to AEW? Let us know. We fittingly now have a big update regarding one of Braun Strowman's best friends going to AEW, that being the highly talented and underrated Bray Wyatt, aka Wyndham Rotunda. Now, as most of you are well aware by now, the major rumors recently have indicated that Bray Wyatt will be signing with AEW in the not-so-distant future once his non-compete clause with WWE finished up. And while there has been a lot of speculation as to when exactly Bray Wyatt would be making his AEW debut, there has been a huge new update on the status of Bray in AEW, with this new report revealed by Dave Meltzer of the Wrestling Observer, indicating that Bray Wyatt could be joining AEW on the September 29th edition of Dynamite. And if he hadn't known, this Dynamite episode is being held in Rochester, New York, which is the hometown of the late Brody Lee, who was one of Bray Wyatt's very closest friends outside the ring, and this would definitely be a very fitting debut for Bray Wyatt. Regardless, Bray Wyatt will be a great addition to the AEW roster, and he will certainly have the creative freedom he needs to thrive in AEW, which he simply was not given in WWE for the most part. This past week's edition of Friday Night SmackDown marked the return of the Beast Incarnate Brock Lesnar, and by all means, while one of the biggest developments was of course Brock Lesnar setting his sights on Roman Reigns' Universal Championship, arguably the more important development was that Brock Lesnar basically exposed Paul Heyman to Roman Reigns, with Lesnar making it clear that Paul Heyman kept his SummerSlam return a secret from Roman Reigns. And the Tribal Chief was visibly upset at Paul Heyman for this, and while Roman did not completely turn on Paul Heyman on this past week's SmackDown episode, like some fans were expecting to see, apparently that is sadly going to be happening very soon nonetheless. Now, for the fans of this alliance between Roman Reigns and Paul Heyman, we have a very sad announcement that will certainly surprise some fans. According to a new backstage rumor, WWE are planning for Roman Reigns to shockingly be the one to turn on Paul Heyman, and not the other way around like it was rumored in the coming weeks, with the plan being for Paul Heyman to basically turn into a babyface after being kicked out of Roman's faction, with Heyman then going back to managing Brock Lesnar, who by all accounts has been a babyface following his return. And the storyline between Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar will progress from there, with Roman being the heel or bad guy in this storyline. Now, as far as when Roman Reigns turns on Paul Heyman is still a bit unclear, although the upcoming Extreme Rules 2021 pay-per-view event is a very real possibility. There is definitely a lot of hype and anticipation surrounding the current men's Money in the Bank briefcase holder Big E lately, as there is no doubt that many fans are excited for Big E's eventual cash-in on either the Universal Champion Roman Reigns or the WWE Champion Bobby Lashley. Now, as many of you are likely aware, Big E has been waiting in the wings outside of Roman Reigns' locker room on Friday Night SmackDown lately, teasing that he could be setting his sights on Roman Reigns' Universal Championship. Although with the return of Brock Lesnar, some fans are worried that Big E's plan to cash in the Money in the Bank briefcase have changed. Recently on Talking Smack, however, Big E confirmed that Brock Lesnar's return will not deter him from his plans for his Money in the Bank briefcase whatsoever, which means that if Big E is going to be cashing in on Roman Reigns, Brock Lesnar's return will not come in the way of that plan. With that said, let us know if you think Big E should set his sights on cashing in the Money in the Bank briefcase on the Universal Champion Roman Reigns, or should Big E move over to Raw and potentially cash in on the WWE Champion Bobby Lashley instead? Let us know. We now have a pretty big update regarding former Intercontinental Champion Ryback. As most of you are probably aware, Ryback has not been seen wrestling for a major promotion following his release from WWE all the way back in 2016, but with Ryback's recent comments on social media, the big guy is going to be making a return to the ring very soon. Here's Ryback's message on Twitter. "You're not the most famous pro wrestler on TikTok without a match in 3 years for no reason. Your hero is returning soon and you will cheer me because you believe in my actions. #hungry. It's unknown where Ryback would be heading to if he does indeed return to wrestling, but Ryback did tease a move to AEW a while back, so perhaps All Elite Wrestling is where he plans to sign with when Ryback makes his return to the ring. This certainly has not taken Becky Lynch any time at all to reclaim her spot at the top of the women's division in WWE, with Becky Lynch moving over to SmackDown following her return, and is currently the reigning SmackDown Women's Champion. And in a recent interview, Becky Lynch caught the attention of the wrestling world once again, with Becky stating that she hopes she can be bigger and better than The Rock in WWE, and potentially even outside of wrestling in the future. Now, not surprisingly, this comment from Becky Lynch that she wants to be bigger than The Rock as a box office attraction garnered a mixed reaction from fans, with some praising Becky Lynch for having big goals, whereas others laughed at Becky for thinking she could ever be as big as The Rock. And let us know your thoughts on Becky Lynch's comment.